It was 10 days before the Carter presidency would officially begin. Washington was in a state of pause, caught between the fading embers of Gerald Ford's calm stewardship and the unknowns of a Georgia governor's promise to heal a shaken nation. But on this winter evening at the Kennedy Center, the script was not political, it was theatrical. George Bernard Shaw's Caesar and Cleopatra was being staged as a glittering opening night event. The play centered on the mentorship between a seasoned leader and a precocious young ruler was strikingly on the nose for the moment. And in this photo by John Whitman for Washington Dosser captured at the champagne reception afterward, we glimpse not just faces, but stories stacked in layers of fame, politics, reinvention, and performance. To the left, leaning forward mid-sentence with the same electric immediacy she brought to the stage, Elizabeth Ashley, then 37. Already a Tony Award winner and the reigning high priestess of Broadway candor, she'd taken on the role of Cleopatra with both force and flourish. Offstage, she was just as fearless. In interviews, Ashley didn't just break the fourth wall, she obliterated it. She spoke openly about the compromises women made, the stupidity of men in power, and the limits of fame. She had once married and divorced actor George Peppard, starred in Barefoot in the Park, and played Maggie the cat like she was born for it. In Caesar and Cleopatra, her Cleopatra wasn't a seductress. It was a woman being taught to lead, then deciding to lead herself. Next to her, slightly behind but unmistakable, stands John V. Lindsay, tall, tanned, still impossibly handsome. The former mayor of New York City had once been hailed as the Republican Kennedy, then reinvented himself as a liberal Democrat and national reformer. He walked the streets of Harlem during riots, took the subway in snowstorms, hosted neighborhood meetings in public housing. His popularity waned, his city went broke, but Lindsay remained one of the last romantics of civic leadership. He wasn't in Washington for a job, not officially, but this event on the edge of power was the kind of place Lindsay always hovered. By now, he was done running for office. His 1972 presidential campaign had fizzled. He practiced law, hosted public television, and watched the city he loved from a quieter vantage. Still, when he entered a room, people noticed. What few in that reception room likely knew was that his daughter Lindsay Doran was already quietly building a career that would eclipse even his cultural footprint. She would go on to produce Sense and Sensibility, This Is Spinal Tap, and become a master of story theory later, delivering a TED Talk that explained, perhaps better than anyone else, how stories move us when victories are witnessed by someone who cares. In the center of the image stands a woman whose name escapes the archives, perhaps a diplomat's wife, a Washington socialite, or simply a friend of Ashley's. She is composed the still point between charisma and charisma. The production itself, Caesar and Cleopatra, received warm, if respectful, reviews. Rex Harrison, reprising the role of Caesar, delivered gravitas. Ashley brought fire. The Kennedy Center's audience that night likely saw more than a play. They saw a metaphor. Caesar passing the torch. Cleopatra stepping into legacy. That same week, America saw Shirley MacLaine win a Golden Globe. Roots hit television like a tidal wave, and Stevie Wonder topped the charts with I Wish. The New York Times bestseller list was led by Leon Uris' Trinity, a sweeping Irish saga about revolution and loyalty. At the box office, Rocky inspired working-class triumph, and Broadway was dominated by a chorus line reminding everyone that behind every spotlight was a personal story aching to be told. This photo, now still, was once alive with tension, performance, and unspoken alliances. Ashley would go on to deepen her mystique, Lindsay would fade into public memory, and the unnamed woman in the middle would remain quiet, elegant, part of a constellation that flickered only briefly over Washington that winter night. It was the end of one administration, the beginning of another. But as ever, the theater continued telling truths louder than politics ever could.